Hey, and welcome back to Alex Talking. It's Alex, your horror hound, and it's a beautiful morning here in Denver. I just had an amazing camping trip, one better than much of them in this franchise, and I thought I'd stop and rank every movie in the Evil Dead series because we just got Evil Dead Burn this weekend, and I was very much so excited for that. It was my most anticipated movie of the summer because, spoiler alert, the movie that's number one on this list is my favorite horror movie ever. This is one of the most influential and inspiring horror series ever, and definitely one of my favorites. I would put this right there with Final Destination, Friday the 13th, and Halloween in terms of there's 5 movies in the Evil Dead franchise that I absolutely love. And Friday the 13th, I think there's 6. And Halloween, I think there's 6. And Final Destination, there's 5. So these are all my favorite franchises. I am so excited to talk about all these movies, and especially the new one. So let's just get right into it. And I'll start by saying there is one movie that I'm not as big on. It's always been my least favorite Evil Dead movie. But I've liked it more as time went on because when I first saw it, it's one of those things that makes me appreciate having Letterboxd. Shout out Letterboxd. I'll drop mine down below in the description. I love following people back on that. If you give me a follow, just shout me out, write a comment or something on a review. Let me know that you found me here. That'd be a lot of fun. But anyways, I like Letterboxd because it lets you look at your activity and your history of watching movies through time and how your taste evolves. I'm not somebody that rates a movie the same every time or has to rate a movie the same every time for consistency. I am very much so open about how my feelings change about movies every time I watch them. So even if I don't write another review, when I log it, very often it can go from 2 to 2.5 or 3 to 1.5 if that's how I feel. If it's that big of a drop, I'll usually write something about it. Anyways, Evil Dead 2013, first time I saw it, I gave it a 1.5 stars. Second time, a star, or 2 stars. And it's sitting at around like a 2.4 in my book right now. Because at the end of the day, I do feel that this is mostly a. And like, I thought this way more whenever I first saw it. When I rewatch it, there are still some things I get out of it. But I think this is mostly just a extremely R-rated, boring 2010s era, last gasp of the remake era, remake of Evil Dead. It's way better than most remakes in terms of like it has good filmmaking, but like I feel that this movie actually really does struggle to justify its existence, and that is coming from someone whose favorite horror movie is The Evil Dead. If it like so many people I know who say that the original Evil Dead is too dated for them and that movie is boring to them, then I absolutely understand this being a much more intense and visceral version of that for modern sensibilities and working better for you. As someone who has always been totally enamored with and in touch with the aesthetic of the original Evil Dead and find that to be a much more visceral and effective version of this, because that's the thing, this movie to me is not effective at all. It doesn't make me feel anything. And it doesn't even make me feel anything in terms of like, oh, that's good, like squirmy gore. Like, because the nail gun and the tree scene and all the most brutal stuff in this movie is just as good, if not small potatoes, to anything done in Rise and Burn that's gnarly. All this really has going for it is a pretty good third act, a very great third act, let's be honest. Once Mia comes into her own, it's great. But I don't feel at all what people feel about Mia with this movie. That's something that also very confuses me. And I guess I'm so happy that so many people like this movie, but being a part of the horror community, I've just met so many people that say this is their favorite, and that is such a wild and like backwards thought, in my opinion, that all I could think if you say that is, well, we go to this franchise for extremely different things, and that is part of what makes it so cool because it gives you all those different things in such wide variety throughout these movies. So I never can ever be bothered by anybody who likes this movie, and I celebrate anybody who does. If this is your favorite Evil Dead movie, please comment below your ranking and just, tell me what you like about it, because my personal experience is I've always just gotten a lackluster remake of the original with like Rob. I originally wrote my review. It's like it was like the Rob Zombified Evil Dead is what it felt like. And as much as I like Rob Zombie, I like the Rob Zombie Halloween, I like Rob Zombie movies, it felt like that in the most superficial, let's make it fucked up and mean spirited way. Not in any sort of like cool or actually interesting way. Um, but yeah, when I hear people say that they would like Mia to come back, that's the type of thing that really confuses me. It makes me wonder like why and like what makes her different than the rock star girl from Evil Dead Rise or Evil Dead Burns, main character. Uh, it's something that I wish every new Evil Dead movie did a little better, is to make your main character on the level of Ash, but it's very hard to do that. And let's be honest, the original Evil Dead has Ash written the same way as all these characters. It's just Bruce Campbell's, charisma that elevates it, and the sequels fleshing him out way more that like fleshes that character out. If we only had the first one to go off of, Ash would be pretty much the same type of character as any of these main characters because they just go through an intense hell of a night. But we have the other stuff with Ash to make us like him better. So it's the type of thing when I hear Mia compared to him, it's just like, no, she's just the girl that survives in the 2013 one. But now let's move on to number 5 and the good movies, all the movies I really like from now on. And I'm not disappointed to say number 5 is Evil Dead Burn, because I've given plenty of preface for how much I like this franchise and think that every movie is great. My top 4 are 4 movies I give a 5 out of 5. This is a movie I give a 4.5 out of 5. I had a great time at the movies with this. Has the best end credit scene that I've seen in the 2020s, if not my entire life. I think that it has an amazing mean streak to it. The last 2 Evil Dead movies have had a mean streak that I really appreciate. It's not just fucked up shit for fucked up shit's sake. It is, oh, you know what would be fucked up? What if it was an Evil Dead movie, but it's a mom slowly taking out her whole family? What if it's an Evil Dead movie, but it's your in-laws? Like, that's the type of thing that, as simple as it sounds on paper, that is the type of thing that changes the formula up enough, in my opinion at least, that keeps them very fresh. And I think that this is the most, message heavy, and serious thematic tone of any of the Evil Dead films, to be 100% honest with you. And I think that it's a great strength of it, the woman going through an abusive husband dying and letting the abuse continue to permeate throughout his family into an extremely extreme manner. But no, I think that this was really great, and I did a good job of completely avoiding everything. So I walked out of every trailer, even the teaser, and I only knew the poster of the girl screaming with hands coming up on her, and it was called Evil Dead Burn. That's truly all I knew. So going in, and there's this like cunty deadite that is terrorizing a mom, a son, and a daughter-in-law because she was the girlfriend of the son and he's a little pussy and let her die. And so she's like, she's got a fucking car seat through her head. She's drinking candle wax, and it's just amazing. I actually clapped out loud in the theater whenever she rips the old woman's dentures out of her mouth and puts her in. So that was the highlight of the movie for me, that deadite. I won't get in any more spoilers. I have a review to go into if you want to watch that. But no, this was a truly great time at the movies. I thought that the final girl with the weed whacker was a very fun girl. I'd love to see her and the rock star girl team up in the next Evil Dead. And yeah, I had such a good time watching insane things happen in a movie theater full of sold out people also gasping and oohing and awing at all the gross shit. Coming in at number 4, Evil Dead Rise. I absolutely loved this, 5 out of 5. Seen it 4 times, and every time I just think it is such an ideal version of reinventing the Evil Dead. I think it's such a good version of, let's take this horror franchise and put it in this location. That doesn't go well sometimes, especially if it's just, let's put it in a city. And this is the Evil Dead version of that, because you can't have it be sprawling through an entire city, but it's, let's put it in a high-rise tower in a city. And I think that it just works so well. And it's all because of the central performance. Mommy's with the maggots now. She is just incredible and carries the entire movie on her back. Everybody's good in this. The little girl with her staff knee, everything is great. But the mom is the anchor that keeps this whole thing working. I mean, it's so good. No, I love this movie. Even like funny little writing, like whenever the kids go knock on the door and ask her to come over and watch all the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, even the shitty ones. There are no shitty ones. Come on, guys. We've all seen Freddy's Dead. But I just think that it is a perfect tone for a modern Evil Dead movie. It was funny while also being extremely gnarly, and keeps that energy throughout the entire third act. Third act in the garage, her getting blood sprayed all over her. It's what I want from an Evil Dead movie. And the opening, girl reading Wuthering Heights, girl getting scalped, yanked, fucking drone mutilation. Opening is excellent. Excellent. So is the one of Evil Dead Burn. Shout that out. Evil Dead Burns. I have to admit, if they're going to keep on doing different locations, not doing Cabin in the Woods, but then they make the cold open always an extremely fucked up Cabin in the Woods like vignette movie, totally works for me. I thought the last two have been absolutely great. Um, and Evil Dead 2013, as much as the Fountain of Blood is fun at the end, just because I don't really feel anything or care about those characters, I have to say my best part of that movie has always been the opening to me too. So 3 for 3 with the 2010 2020s era's Evil Dead movies, great openings. And yeah, I just really think that the three new Evil Dead movies now make a really nice little trio, just like the original three. And let's talk about the original three. Number 3, Army of Darkness. I probably watched this one the most when I was younger, just like most people. After I first saw the Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2 whenever I was like 15. And then this one, I was like, oh, that one's great. That was like the action one. That one has skeletons in it. My friends are going to love that. My friends did love it. So we watched this one a lot. And then kind of transitioned into watching Evil Dead 2 more because you get everything out of Evil Dead 2. Whereas you get just comedy out of this one. You just don't get the gore. And that is what kills me. It is flawless filmmaking, gorgeous sets, amazing practical effects, hilarious acting. It's Campbell's funniest performance other than Evil Dead 2, which is his magnum opus. It's just the type of thing that, like, yeah, the older I get everything out of Evil Dead 2 that I get out of this movie, just with more gore. So that is the simplest way to put it. It's an entirely different movie. It's medieval Dead. So, like, it's so good at being unique in its own thing. It's just, I prefer the horror movie version. It's as simple as that. 5 out of 5 movie. Clapped a Barada necktie. Nothing wrong with it. Number 2, and this is really hard. Like, this is one of the hardest top 2 because if I did my top 10 favorite horror movies ever, both of them are in it. Like, that's 100% honesty, and there's no lying about that. But number 2 is going to be Evil Dead 2 today. And that's only because if I had to choose, I just have to say that, like, what the original Evil Dead gives me at number 1, I'll just talk about them both together, is the purest horror experience in my life and that I'll probably ever have. And I get that every single time I rewatch it. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original, is the only one on par with that actually just without fail improves every single time I watch it. The original Evil Dead is such a flawless inspiration of independent filmmaking, true, raw, gritty, in the woods horror. That's what I used to make with my friends in high school. That's what I still aspire to make. And there is nothing that inspires me and fuels me and just brings me pure cinematic joy like the original Evil Dead for that. Evil Dead 2, just as fun. Some of the most iconic camera shots of all time. Some of the most iconic movie moments of all time. The highs of Evil Dead 2 are way higher than the highs of the Evil Dead. Whenever you have the chainsaw hand and you have the ending specifically of Evil Dead 2. I love the ending of the first Evil Dead though. I love the ending of the first Evil Dead. One of the best final shots ever. But the ending of Evil Dead 2 sets up Army of Darkness so well and fits into the tone of that movie so well. And that big monster coming through the thing is just so good. I love it. I borderline will never watch one without two, to be 100% honest. Down to the fact that the very first time I ever got them was in a Blu-ray double pack, and that's what I have in my house in Denver. Moved out here with me. I got it in FYE in Washington D.C. all those years ago, and it's just those two movies are absolute flawless horror masterpieces, and the second one is a comedy masterpiece too. So I put them at 1 and 2 very interchangeably in a lot of ways, and celebrate them both with my full heart. Now you tell me, what is your Evil Dead ranking down below? Do you also think that this is one of the most consistent franchises? Is it 5 out of 6, 6 out of 6 for you? Because, like I said, I think by the time I watch Evil Dead 2013 again, I can probably get it up to a 3. Hopefully, I'll be able to, find enough in there that the superficialness of it ceases to bother me. But I just love this franchise so much, and I cannot wait for Evil Dead Wrath next year, especially after the end credit scene of Evil Dead Burn. I just am unfathomably excited for that. So let me know your Evil Dead thoughts down below in the comments, what you've been watching recently, what movies have had you excited, and let's all keep looking forward to the Odyssey this week. Thank you for watching. God bless. Have a great day.